Welcome to Prison Professors. It's not often I get an opportunity to introduce you to somebody who has really overcome struggle, but not only overcome struggle in a personal way, also devoted himself to improving the lives of others. And that's why I'm so thrilled to introduce you to Richard Mireles. I'm going to let him tell his story, but it's amazing. And he inspires me. I know he'll inspire you. If you're serving time in jail or prison, this is the place you want to be to learn why the decisions you make today have a huge influence on what you become tomorrow. Richard, welcome to Prison Professors. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you. I remember being in and watching your shows and being inspired.
Tell us about the time that you were in.
Okay. Yeah, I was sentenced to 25 years to life in 1998. And I didn't get out until March of 2019. Hold on one second. Man, I'm on a recorded line here. Can we edit that out? Sorry.
That's okay. We're not, if you saw these in prison, you know I always say, I'm not a Disney level production.
Well, hey, definitely just letting everybody know, once you get out here, the real world, there's people walking around in your house and talking and preparing, and it's Sunday and it's a family day. But yeah, I was sentenced in 1998, 25 years to life. Didn't get out until March of 2019. Went in there back when the governor was Gray Davis, and he said the only way a lifer in California prisons was going to get out was in a pine box. And most of us believed him and acted accordingly. But there was a twinge of hope in me that I would be free one day. And that first year and a half, it was all about going along to get along, and do whatever it takes, survive. I like to say, keep the spacesuit alive, do what it takes, So you would think that 25 of life was a wake-up call for me to change my life, but it wasn't. I continued to drink and do drugs in there and nearly OD'd on heroin in my cell one day. And that was finally the last straw. Me and my cellmate almost died together, and that was the last straw. And I said, God, I don't want to die as a drug addict in prison. I've already failed my family. I failed society. And here I am with a life sentence, and I'm going to die as a drug addict. And I don't want to die. Help me, change me. And the next day I made a declaration to quit. And June of 2010 will be 22 years recovered addict alcoholic.
So Richard, how old were you when you went in, and how old were you when you had that epiphany?
I went in at 20. I was a few months shy of my 22nd birthday when I had that epiphany. And that opened up a world of opportunities for me. It was scary in the beginning as a 21-year-old taking a stand against the antisocial prison norms. And I really didn't. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what was your mindset? You said that you didn't change your life when you first went in and you had 25 years to go. Could you tell us about your mindset at that point? Because you said that the sentence alone wasn't enough to change you. What was the mindset?
My mindset was stay alive. Stay alive. My mom and grandparents were the only ones left in my life as far as family members who loved me. And the best I could do was stay alive to bring them some type of hope. I didn't want them to find out that I died in prison. So before you had that epiphany, when you said that you were in the prison and you were not ready to change your life, were you still thinking, what were you thinking? I was thinking that drugs and alcohol was an escape. I couldn't comprehend that I wasn't even supposed to go before the parole board until December of 2021. And so my mindset was that I would be in here forever. So I might as well get in good with those who had the influence in gangs and, stay active, play sports, work out,
learn how to do time in prison. Had you been locked up as a juvenile?
No.
So that was my first time when I went in. I was a little older than you. I was 23 when I finally got arrested, and I was lucky that I got that changed right at the start of my journey. You had a couple of years. Were you in a high security penitentiary?
Yes, level 4 Calipatria.
So level 4 penitentiary, you got a lot of pressure going on. Something tragic happens in your life and you transform. Now, you're saying that you had this lengthy sentence, but you're home now and leading a massive organization. So at the start of this, we want to say Richard's life isn't only characterized by going into the system. What really differentiates him from everybody else is the extraordinarily successful return he has had to society, not only in his own life, but in the impact he's having on the world. I'd love to get your whole story through prison, but first of all, tell us about the exciting things you're doing right now.
Okay. Well, came out 3 years ago. You actually were part of our crop organization's inspiration because I was going to be the first one on our team to come out of prison. We had some amazing ideas on what we wanted to do out here. It was going to require some policy change and work at the state capitol. So we chose for our headquarters to be Sacramento. And I never lived in Sacramento before. I had only been here one time before to an airport. But we chose Sacramento. And because the rest of my team wasn't out yet, and I wouldn't be able to do what we did, a year before I got out in 2019, I started watching your podcast in Soledad Prison, CTF Soledad. I started watching your podcast, and I think that your podcast was the first one in the California system that they allowed on the institutional channel. And you were in federal prison, so it was a little bit different. But even though it was different in terms of the guys that you were interviewing from different parts of the country, what was the same was, and what attracted us was the success stories. And so I found out about your class. I took your class in the prison's library. I forget what it's called, but all of the classes were based on A's.
Straight A guide. You want me to remind you?
I still have it. It's in my garage. I pulled it out the other day. And I went through all the A's, turned in my homework, and I continue to watch your shows. And then I think you mentioned a podcasting book, and I ordered it. It was John Lee Dumas's Entrepreneur on Fire. It's just a little 70, 80 page book. I read it. I talked to my best friend, who was the co-founder of our organization. I said, we can do a podcast out there. What do you know about podcast? I know nothing. I just read this 70 page book and we can do it. And that's sort of the mindset at Crop Organization. If you can envision it, we can do it. And so I said, how about if I, as the first one to get out, start a podcast, and we're going to interview currently and formerly incarcerated people and share their transformational stories like Michael Santos is doing. And we'll bring light to those in the California system. And that's how it started. So I had to come out here. I got a subscription to Podcasters Paradise from John Lee Dumas, and just total immersion for that first year. Started recording shows with those who are incarcerated to share their stories. And the ultimate goal was to transform the mindsets of people in America about the currently and formerly incarcerated people, and show them that their ideas that come from shows like Law and Order and, lock them up, throw away the key, that type of stuff works. That was the first thing we did. So I wanted to thank you for being part of our inspiration and telling stories, because it does affect people's mindsets. But here's what we're doing today. At Crop Organization, we wanted to be a groundbreaking org who provides livable wage jobs. We know that a lot of people come out and there's things like gardening, landscaping, construction, the service industry and the food industry. But a lot of those jobs, and no offense to anybody who wants to do construction or be a chef or any of those things, if that's your dream or goal, go after it, attack it, But for the most part, those who are in those types of jobs, it's very hard living paycheck to paycheck. And for some whose mindsets aren't there yet, there's a temptation to go back. And so our goal was to provide those things under one umbrella, a holistic program. There's so many programs out here that are siloed. If you need mental health, you got to go here. If you need housing, you got to go here. You got to go to all these different places. And for us coming out after 20, 30 years, it's tough. So one-stop shop, that was our goal. We wanted to provide digital literacy, financial literacy, life skills or professional workplace skills. We wanted to provide housing, and we wanted to pay them while they lived at our program, and not as a transitional house, but something that was totally different, like a career campus or as a college style environment. And then while they're getting leadership development, digital literacy, financial literacy, professional workplace skills, after 3 months of that, they would go 6 months, 6 to 8 hours a day into a career in tech, whether it be B2B sales, inbound, outbound customer service, project management, UX, UI design, advanced manufacturing, or logistics, advanced logistics, into careers where they could make $70,000 a year. In fact, we don't want anybody who goes to our programs to start anywhere making less than $60,000 a year, because we believe in the dignity of work. And if a person is making a livable wage income, you carry yourself different. You carry yourself a lot different. You're able to buy a house and own a car. And, for me, I've been able to pay my parents' mortgage and buy school clothes and get a car and own a car and get school clothes and school supplies for my nieces and nephews and give a lot of things at Christmas. And it feels good. And there's absolutely no temptation to go back once that happens. So that's the program that we took to state legislators. Of course, we would have all of the analytics in place, working with UC Berkeley. And all of those things that I mentioned, we're working with world-changing organizations like Google and LinkedIn and Beneficial State Bank and Oracle and Dell to get these trainings from. That's who we're contracting and working with today. But we took it to the state legislators. We had a champion in Assemblywoman Wendy Carrillo and in Senator Nancy Skinner, Assemblymember McCarty, and in State Controller Betty Yee. And they added us to the workforce development California budget, the workforce development grant contract for $28.5 million. And this will be the year we
I've got some images. I've got some images of that amazing check that you're receiving. And it's just got to be so fulfilling for you to have had a dream while you were inside a prison system serving effectively a life sentence, and to come out and to have already done more than many people who've never gone to prison and who have graduated from college and had extraordinary careers, but they've never done what you've done, and they're never going to have the impact that you and your team are going to have. And that's why I'm really passionate about sharing your story with as many people as I possibly can in jail or prison. And I'd love to just get more details of how you overcame the challenge and got to where you are. Because it's just, as you know, it's so extraordinary. It would have inspired you, I'm sure, when you were in prison. It certainly inspires me right now. And I've been home for, 8.5 years already. But I'm just thrilled to when I hear a story like yours. Could you tell us about, you said that you came across my program, but I got to believe you came across a lot of educational programs while you were serving that lengthy sentence in prison. Could you tell us about your experience in transforming your own life?
Yeah. When I made that decision not to do drugs anymore, I didn't know what the direction was. I heard somewhere, set some goals. I had never finished a book before going to prison. And so I set a goal, read 500 books. All right. You had similar goals on some of those books that you wanted to read. I said, read 500 books, get a college degree, and read the Bible 40 times and get back and, I had a goal as a kid to be a teacher. And not necessarily that I wanted to be a teacher, but what I liked about teachers was they had the ability to stand up there in front of a room and influence people for good. And so, fast forward, I started reading the Bible. I started reading books. I got excited, started taking correspondence courses. Back then, there were no programs. And I didn't sit back and say, well, there's no programs here for me to take, so poor me. I started writing everywhere across the nation, sort of like you when you wrote to different universities. And I started writing, and I started taking everything I get my hands on to educate myself. 2005 came along. There's 5 guys going to college. No money for college books. What do? We all bought one book and started trading it. We started trading that book, and there wasn't, well, I don't want to take this class or take that class. It was take any class you can get as many credits as you can and get that degree. And there was a mindset issue for me. I'd been told a lot of cruddy stuff growing up about who I would be. And after the 10th A in a row, I made a decision in the mindset. I'm not going to believe any of that anymore. It's not about my ability. It's about my willingness. Are you willing to do the studies to learn? And I was. So I went on to get a 4.0, graduated as a valedictorian of my class, got the bachelor's degree with a 3.82. Now I'm a couple classes shy of my MBA with a 3.63. Along the way, we were a program came in called the Cornerstone Project. They trained us to be transformational coaches. In that transformational coaching program, we taught something that along the lines of the vein of thought, like the Tony Robbins, the Dr. Phils, the Jocko Willnicks, the extreme ownership. If me and you were in a conversation and we had a disagreement, Michael, and you know, there was some responsibility or blame to go along with it, and you were 95% responsible and I was 5% responsible, our mindset would be, am I willing to own 100% of my 5%? Forget about what Michael's doing. I cannot control him. Are you willing to look in the mirror? Are you willing to take a hardcore stance to look in the mirror and own what you did, what you didn't do, what you said, what you didn't say? And our team began to build that. So we became coaches, we became state certified alcohol and drug counselors, immersed ourselves in college, and created an island of transformation at that prison. And we started off with 12 of us, and our goal was to bring programs to this place that only had one program. By the time we left, there was 121 programs at that prison. And we had transformed the culture, which was our vision, from that criminal type thinking to responsible thinking, taking a hardcore stance. Along the way, we were featured in Lisa Ling's This Is Life with Lisa Ling, season 7, episode 1, prison and prep school. And the whole goal there was for us to read books with college students. We wrote a book called Men Built for Others and create a scholarship for young people to go to a private school where they would learn communications, they would learn public speaking. These are like future senators and assembly members of the world changers. It's a great school. And we just thought, how can we get young people to go to these schools and go to college one day? And we did that, and she filmed it. And we just kept moving forward. So that's some of the educational background. And we had a tight core of people that we're still together today, our friends, and we just continue to cast vision. And we shed ourselves of the mindset of I can't. There is no I can't. It's always how can I.
You know, when I was incarcerated, it was stories like that that really lifted me up and made me believe that if a guy who served time in prison could do all of the things that Richard did, maybe I could do something as well. And I had many experiences where I got to hear from leaders like Richard, and that always influenced me to try and be like him. And if you're inside of a jail or a prison right now, yep, I know that you're getting influenced by a lot of negative people around you, but you really got to focus on, you know, the people of today that really make a difference. And Richard is certainly a great leader who has done amazing things, not only while he was in prison, but also during these few years since he got out. Tell us about the effort you made to persuade a parole board that you are a worthy candidate for release.
Yeah, I guess that was the original perspective, was to persuade them that I'm suitable for parole, that I was no longer a threat to society. And on paper, I think I had all the bona fides to go in there and being found suitable, 300 or 400 certificates and chronos and all the good things that show the degrees and the transitional housing and support letters and those types of things. But my coach, Jesse Bonderman, once told me about 3 years before I went to board, about 16 years in, he said, Rich, do you want to go in there and be found suitable for parole based on your bona fides? Or would you rather go in there and bring healing in some type of way to the person that you harmed, even if it means being denied? And that was, I was definitely remorseful and took full responsibility for what I did and for what I caused, and had written letters of apology, and that hit me what he said. So my goal when I went to board, of course I wanted to be found suitable and go home and make that phone call to my mom that I'd be coming home. but I tried to keep it at the forefront of my mind that I wanted to bring healing to the person I harmed and to their family, district attorney and the community. And they were all there, a whole family, the person that I had attempted to murder, and their family members, district attorney, victims' rights organizations. And they listened. It was a 7.5-hour hearing. And I shared about growing up and all that goes on there. I shared about, I had no write-ups while I was in. So the things I shared with you about using heroin, I didn't have to tell them that because it was out of their awareness. But from my perspective, it's better to go in there and be authentic, fall on your sword. They know most likely you didn't go 21 years without doing something wrong in here. And so that's what I did. I fell on my sword. I got accountable and owned up to who I was committed to being back then, who I'm committed to being back now. And I think they all saw that in the room. And this is the miracle of it for me. I expected for the family and family to say, you know, I hope you die in here. I'll be back every year to ensure that you're not out. But that wasn't what happened. And they said that we believe that you're remorseful. We believe that you're taking responsibility and that you changed your life. I'm not going to be coming back to these parole hearings anymore. I believe that you're they culminated with this. My feelings towards you are neutral, and I trust the commissioner to make the right decision. And when you are found suitable for parole, a lot of families aren't in agreement and they're upset and they don't come back into the hearing for the deliberation. But this family came back in. They asked for the letters of support. They asked for the victim impact reports and the ripple effect, the papers that I wrote of the harm that my crimes caused. And the commissioner pulled me aside afterwards and he said, I want you to know that today you brought healing into that room. That family is a great family. And in that hallway, they're out there forgiving you. And that doesn't happen every day, man. And I want you to remember one word for the rest of your life: humility, humility. And I wear it on this bracelet. I have this word humility on here as a daily reminder that's what it took to be free. Get humble, get honest, get accountable, get free on the inside, and then you can be free on the outside.
It's so important for people to hear that message. But what's also important is to hear not only that he succeeded in bringing healing and in making amends and reconciling with society, but it's really important for people to look back and think of all the work that went into Richard's ability to accomplish those goals. He had to do the same things that we really emphasize in all of our courses. And that's, you know, whether there are programs available or not, you got to focus on developing strong communication skills, strong writing skills, strong speaking skills, you know, strong critical thinking skills, and insane work ethic. And all of that together is what gives a person the ability to overcome these enormous challenges of persuading people that he is worthy. And I'm so proud to know him and to call him, you know, inspiration to me and a role model to me. And I hope that you will look at Richard the same way. What was the process after that moment that the commissioner spoke to you? How long did it take for you to go to the next step and get out?
5 months. In the California prison system, it's a 5-month process. For those who do not have murder, which I didn't, murder is 150 days. You have to wait. The governor can still take one's date if they were convicted of murder. If they weren't, then it's about 120 days. And though he cannot take your date, he could refer the person to an in-bank hearing with 12 commissioners instead of 2. But for me, I got word on the 118th day that you'd be going home. So 2 days later, I was released.
Wow. And how many years in prison had you served?
20 years, 7 months, and 21 days. But who's counting?
20 years, 7 months, and 21 days. And what day was it that you got out?
March 20th.
And of what year?
2019.
So March 20th of 2019, 2021. So we're just about at 3 full years Haven't quite been 3 full years, and we've already heard how much he has accomplished in those 3 years. Can you tell us about the first things that you did besides taking a podcasting class? What else did you do to build this support network of influential people that would help you reach your goals?
Well, to build a support network, I cannot stress enough how important it is to build a support network on the inside first. On the inside first, whether it's employers, family members, just somebody that you can call when you're having a tough day, and they will come. I mean, I was still arrogant enough to think that I would do fine, and I didn't realize all that goes into, being a homeowner, and all the bills and auto pay and bank accounts and credit and all these other factors out here that can be overwhelming at times. And if you get married and have kids or stepkids, there's all that homework I think that let's see, for me, being that I had built, I had been a part of the founding of Crop on the Inside. Our co-founder, Mitch Gray, he was already out here. He's a successful entrepreneur, lived in Tennessee, and he began to pay me as an independent contractor, 1099, every month. And in the beginning, he said, you can call me any day, anytime, and I'm going to help you, and I'm going to connect you to the right people to get you help. And so that he was the main one, my employer, and I would call him often.
Did you say that he was a founder? Does that mean he was in prison as well?
He was not, but he was the father of Ted Gray. And
I see.
That's how Crop originally was founded. A father loving his son and investing in his son and saying, what could we do to change things in prison to make things better in there? And the way it first started off was his dad donating sports equipment and music equipment to bring about peace on yards that were dangerous, and there's a lot of violence there.
And so you started off with this somewhat of a lifeline and income, and he introduced you to people, but what did you do?
What did I do? I called those closest to me on a regular basis. At the transitional house I was in, I talked to the director. I said, can I set up counseling sessions with you? You've been doing this transitional housing for 14 years. I said, could I talk to you a couple times a week? I don't know what about, but I just want to have somebody here that I can check in with. I called my mom every day. My mom's she's never even got a ticket. I called my mom every day. Hey mom, how's it going? And then I talked to her about anything that was difficult for me. I called my grandpa. My grandpa's a Vietnam vet, 50 years of service in PG&E and veterans groups. And so I called him. I stayed in touch with everybody. The worst thing you could do is to become an island to yourself and think that that you can do it on your own. And life will be a lot harder. At Crop Organization, we say, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go ahead, go together.
And so you come home, do you start a nonprofit of your own, or do you use the Crop framework to launch these initiatives that you're now running?
I worked for Crop, and the nonprofit was already set up. It had been set up for a little over a decade, but it wasn't. There were a few things where it was functional because we built an alcohol and drug counseling state certification program on the inside, but there wasn't anyone out here besides Mitch that was pretty much running it. So I came under the Crop umbrella, and the whole time it's been that way. After 1 month out, I was hired, and that's how it started.
And what is your role in Crop right now?
Today, I'm the director of communications, and I'll tell you, in 2 years and 11 months, Michael, not only have I immersed myself in learning podcasting and released, next week will be our 70th episode and 46th video cast, and immersed myself in digital marketing, social media marketing, had to learn uploading, downloading, getting things on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, downloads. I had no knowledge of any of this before. I also run now our website, our messaging, on our website, the back end of our website. I had to learn how to do that. And I also run 12 of our social media channels, not only for crop organization, but for our podcast, the Prison Post podcast. Not including my own, where I still try to get messages out there about who we are and what we do, but had no knowledge of social media, the websites, or podcast. And my point is that if you come out here, immerse yourself, learn, have dogged determination, grit, commitment, and work day and night, anyone can learn. I'm no special than anybody else in there, any of my brothers or sisters in there, and they may be thinking like, oh, I can't do that, but you can. I found, she kind of found us. There's a woman named Ellen Feeney. She's 30 years in Silicon Valley, builds platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook. And she saw what we had did with Lisa Ling, read the Washington Post article, reached out to her through Twitter. We set up a phone call and then a Zoom and then a meeting. She came to our apartment, and she's a developer and engineer. She has her own Aloha Cloud SaaS platform. And she said, how am I gonna teach you? I'm gonna mentor you, and you're gonna record these Zooms. And then when you have trouble working on the website, you're gonna go back and watch the Zoom and hit play, pause, over and over until you learn. I'm not gonna do it for you. You're gonna learn. That's what she did.
And that is just such an amazing story. But if you're in jail or prison, the one salient point that I really want to emphasize is look at how hard Richard worked while he was incarcerated. And the more time he spent investing in himself and developing these skills, developing learning skills and writing skills and reading skills, that accelerated his pathway to be able to learn these more complicated programs. And I can assure you, they are complicated. Richard, when I got out of prison, I like to always say, my wife passed me this phone. I told her it was broken because it didn't have a dial tone. So I know how hard it is to learn technology. Oh, yeah. And I'm just so inspired by what you have done and what you are doing. And I look forward to meeting you next week when we're going to be together at the Long Beach conference. Tell us about your role at the conference.
Yeah, we've formed a relationship with the director of rehabilitative programs, Mr. Brant Choate, and I think he's been the director of California's rehabilitative programs. I mean, he's pretty much over everything: the vocational programs, educational programs, the self-help groups that are allowed to come in. Great guy, progressive thinker. We did a few podcasts with him. Every time we get on a Zoom, it's supposed to be a half hour. We end up staying on there for 2 hours, tossing around ideas for the way to transform prison. And so I hadn't heard of CEA, but they're connected to workforce development, and that's what we do here at CROP. So Brant said, hey, I think CROP would be great to be on a panel here and really share the inspiring things that they're doing, the vision that they're casting. And I think that they're progressive thinkers and could change some mindsets around the type of work that formerly incarcerated people can do when they come out. And I think because of it's like a double defeating perspective. So people provide jobs for formerly incarcerated people that are normally, $15 to $20 an hour jobs where you're always struggling, because they think that's our mindset. And then in turn, we put that mindset on ourselves, and we tell ourselves, like, I don't think I'm smart enough. You ask the average guy in there, what are you going to do when you get out? Man, I don't know. I'm just trying to get out. Yeah, but what are you going to do? You have aspirations. You want this career, that career. I'm just trying to get out. And so, but if they're able to get cast vision for themselves in there, and that was one of our programs on the inside, cast vision for yourself for a future worth having. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? Look at yourself 10 years from now. What are you doing? And then take the actions today and walk towards that person that you are 10 years from now. So that mindset we shared with Brant, and he invited us to share on the panel. So we're going to share a little bit about our organization and the state contract and what we're going to be unrolling over the next 12 months.
Yeah, this is really exciting. I'm looking forward to listening to that panel discussion and participating, but also to really learning about what more our team can do to emulate your success, because you're really something. You'd mentioned that you've received a grant. Now we'll go back to that, what you told us at the beginning, that you received a grant of more than, was it 27 or $28 million?
27 million from the Assembly and 1.5 from the Senate.
So $28.5 million. What is the expectations for you to achieve with those resources?
The expectations are that in Oakland, California, that there will be a career campus where every nine months, at least 50 people in Oakland and also another 50 in Los Angeles will be going through our 9 to 12 month program. As it stands, it's about 9 months. In the beginning, they'll get 3 months of leadership development training that me and my colleagues do, that we're certified to do, under that mindset. We believe that mindset has to go first because it's the most important if you want to make it through the rest of the program, as you teach as well. And then, so that's part of their day, 2-hour days. Imagine going to an 8-hour job. You're living at this facility. There's classrooms in there. There's a gym there. There's offices there. You have your own room. You have your own bathroom. So that's part of it. Then you get 2 hours with an on-site Google trainer. You'll come and learn Google Suite and go through one of Google's certification programs that is comparable to a 4-year degree. You'll spend another hour with LinkedIn Learning, probably virtually with different people that come on live, but via Zoom. And they teach professional workplace skills. And there's homework connected to that, as well as the Google certification program. And then there's another 2 hours a day, probably 3 or 4 days a week. It's probably 3 days right now, with live bankers from Beneficial State Bank. And they come on and teach the financial literacy piece. And this is 3 months. So those are all those things are going on simultaneously. And while they live at our career campus, they each receive $1,000 a month stipend. So not only are you living there for free, you're also getting paid there. And they'll get a bank account. $600 of that will go towards their checking account and spend however they want. $200 in savings, which that part is kept until they graduate, and then they get a one lump check that they could use towards their first and last month's rent as they go on to long-term housing. And then $200 is put towards a secure credit card so they could build credit. Most of us coming out, we have no credit. So that's the expectation, to take 340 to 500 people over 3 years in this pilot program to prove it. And with Crop Organization, we have a 0 recidivism rate. Since 2010, no one who's ever gone through any of our programs, inside and out, has ever gone back to prison. So I think that's one of the main factors why the state is choosing to work with us. They pay $142,000 to $148,000 for a person to be incarcerated in the state of California. They have a $15.9 billion a year budget, with only 3% of that going towards rehabilitative programming, and a 58% recidivism rate. So if you can send funding our way, where they can get the digital literacy, financial literacy, a career in tech. So after those 3 months, they'll get a career in tech, and they get all that, and there's a 0 recidivism rate. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right?
It's a home run. Yeah. Richard, how is this benefiting you on a personal level?
Oh man, there's so many ways.
Besides the gratification that comes from changing lives, I mean, you went through my courses in prison. You've seen what I've done, and it was always, tell me what's different between you and me, if there is anything different, because for me, it was always really important, as you said, not to get a $15 an hour job, but to become financially successful so that I would not ever be tempted or threatened with doing something wrong that could lead me back into the prison system. How about you? Is this opportunity that you've created for so many other people, is it advancing you financially on a personal level?
Well, it certainly will. I mean, I started off at $36,000 a year. I mean, to me, after
it's a lot better than the 10 cents an hour people make in prison make.
Yeah, and worked hard and got a raise to 64. Worked hard longer and got a raise to 80, and soon I'll be making 6 figures. To me, our team, we've
But you're creating also jobs for many other people that are getting the same bumps in income as well.
Absolutely. We want for people to make no less than 60. And I know some places that may not be much, but it's a start. And once you get your foot in the door, there's upward mobility opportunities for you. And once you have that mindset, they can go from 60 to 200 or so and not be tempted by the past because of all the things that they can do. Certainly there's intrinsic value for me. I love to give. I love people. I love that aha moment that you see in that person when they get it and then make that choice to empower themselves to take off and live a whole new life, right? But for me, I'll tell you, one of the most rewarding things is, growing up with the mindset that you're not going to be anything. You're not going to graduate from high school because you're not smart enough, or go to college because you're not smart enough, or go to the military because you're not disciplined enough. And just thinking that the best thing that I might do is push a shovel. To know today that I can now train others in digital marketing, in the back end of a website, to get on a podcast show. I mean, to communicate, to be of service to your community, to give your life for a cause that's bigger than yourself. To know that I get excited watching digital marketing webinars. Like, I can do that. I get it now. When I first started, I was terrified and I didn't get it. But now that I'm like, okay, great, we can get great messages out there and change the world with these. And I'll tell you one other thing. Through public speaking and being an advocate for criminal justice reform, I was asked to go and speak at the Capitol before the Assembly and the Senate many times. Now, if you would have asked me in prison, would that ever be possible? I'd say probably not. And then for a law to change, probably not. But I came out here, I was invited to speak before the Assembly and the Senate for a bill called ACA 6, which then passed the Assembly and the Senate and got on the ballot as Prop 17. And that was the bill to allow those on parole to have a voice and to vote. And the California voters voted that at a 59%, higher than any bill that was on the ballot. And I got to be a part of that. So that mindset for me is super valuable to know. There's nothing that you can't put your mind to. I mean, there's some things. I'm not going to be an astronaut, right? Within my current reality, I'm not going to be a police officer, but there's things that I can do to leave my dent in this world when I'm gone, to leave a legacy of good and of living amends, of hope, of bringing hope to others.
You'd mentioned earlier in the podcast today that you work with Jesse Bonderman. Are you still in touch with Jesse? I knew Jesse. He was one of the first people I met when I got out of prison. Are you still in touch with Jesse?
Yeah, we talk. Jesse lives in Brazil now. And he's still near and dear to my heart. I still count him as my coach. He gives me different principles all the time, and I tell him all the stories of what we're doing. And but Jesse, I'm still in touch with him. He's not doing like this type of work on a regular basis, but he spent 7 years in there with us in Soledad. Yeah. Whether it was 1 day a week or 3 days a week, and he invested in us. And I'll never forget his commitment to us. And I'm still in touch. I
remember him talking with me. In fact, when I met with him, I think I'd been out of prison for like a week or maybe 2 weeks, and he was on his way to Soledad with another guy. I forgot the other guy's name. What's his name?
Dan Tacchini.
Pardon?
Daniel Tacchini.
Yes. I met both of them for breakfast in Petaluma, where I was working at the time. But he's been a big supporter of ours, and I know how committed he was to the program at Soledad. You also mentioned the work that you're doing, and that you did a podcast with Dr. Choate. Were you part of that podcast of people that opened a prison in some place or took over a prison and are creating programs there?
Yes, we purchased a prison in Colorado that was formerly used to house women and children at one time, and it was no longer being used that way. And so we thought, a macro goal would be to repurpose these prisons, right? To transform them into something completely new. And so we had all kinds of ideas on what to do with it, like maybe run our pilot program from there, but it would probably have to be a federal thing because it's in like 90 minutes outside of Denver.
But you said you purchased the prison.
Mm-hmm.
Who purchased the prison? Crop?
crop organization, Mitch Gray with crop organization purchased it, and then our goal was to repurpose it. So we've sold it now, but yeah, I mean we're open to doing that and repurposing them.
I mean, that's just such an inspiring goal for people inside to hear the amazing accomplishments that Richard Mireles and his team at Crop have been doing. I think it all really begins with the decisions that a person makes inside. Richard, if somebody wanted to be a participant in this Crop program, what steps would they take to join you or to collaborate with you in some kind of way?
Absolutely, that's a great question. They would go to our website. And I'll be putting applications on our website over the next 2 weeks before the end of the month, and fill out an application. Of course, you know, the requirement for this pilot program would be to go to either to Oakland or to Los Angeles, and to make that commitment, you know, and we'll be doing interviews for a screening process. And we realize that not everybody wants to do this and make the choice for this, but for those who do, you know, it is a commitment. Right, it is a commitment, and you know, in my opinion, if you don't go, you're going to work an 8-hour day somewhere. Why not get paid to be in a classroom setting at a career campus where you live, and get paid to learn digital and financial literacy and get a career in tech? It's really a no-brainer to me. But yeah, you go to the website, but we'll be working with CDCR to get and parole and probation to get our applications inside of the system and to those who are reentry society. You know, our tagline is reimagining reentry, working together to transform lives and heal communities. And so this is our vision to reimagine the way reentry is done.
How many slots do you have?
We have 50 in LA and 50 in Oakland every 9 months. So our goal, like I shared, would be over the next 3 years to graduate anywhere from 340 to 500. And we may start with, you know, 60 or 70 people at a time. However, you know, there's always some that, you know, may say, hey, this isn't for me a month or two in, but our goal is to graduate 500 and to prove the model and then scale and go to other major cities in California and across the United States.
Will you be bringing in outside speakers and tutors to collaborate with you?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things we do on Fridays is every Friday we bring in somebody, and I want to invite you now. Every Friday we bring somebody in, whether it's via Zoom or StreamYard or live, to come and to motivate, to share their stories, to share their inspiration, to inform, motivate, inspire. We don't call them participants. We use the word associates. These are our associates. We would like for them to come back and work for us one day if they so choose to invest in other people's lives like this. We need to invest in people over punishment. Punishment doesn't work. What does work, invest in people and then let them take off.
You make sure that you send that invitation to me, because I would be honored to contribute with hopes of helping more people follow in the pathway of Richard Mireles, a real leader and an inspiration to anybody who's gone through the criminal justice system. I definitely want to do whatever I can to help your team fulfill its mission. I'm curious, are people that are working with you pursuing ancillary or outside work? Because if you're skilled as a digital marketer, obviously you could earn additional income by taking on freelance work. Does anyone on your team do that type of project?
Well, you know, as a startup, Michael, I mean, there's 60 to 80-hour weeks, and
it's a Sunday. We're working right now, my friend.
yeah. There's other side jobs and things like that people do. I would say it's more sort of like when you're asked to go speak at a university. Different. Just the other day, I spoke at a high school out here on restorative justice. We've done trainings, DEI trainings for different corporations. We've done transformational coaching with Heart Now Community College, the professors and deans there, with the students there, with the ethnic studies students. So there are other things that we do around restorative justice or diversity, equity, and inclusion. But you know, it's all hands on deck right now. And as far as our associates, if they're in our program and they find their groove, sort of like when you start college and you realize that 4 classes, I can still work a full-time job. And when they find their groove and they wanted to get a part-time job or do some type of, create a business, they're open to do that. There's no rules against it.
Well,
you don't want it to be like prison,
It's very exciting what you're doing. I'm really inspired by what I'm reading, and I'm really looking forward to shaking your hand next week when we meet at the Long Beach. What is it? The Correctional Correctional Education Association?
Yes.
Yeah, I've participated there before at the invitation of Dr. Choate and Robert Holtz and others, and I certainly look forward to seeing the great things that you're doing there. But Richard, is there anything I didn't ask you on this podcast that I should have asked you that you would have wanted to know while you were in prison?
That I would have wanted to know. Yeah, you didn't ask it, but I would want my brothers and sisters who are incarcerated to know, and those who are reentering society to know. And there's also one more thing I'd like to share with you. I would like them to know, and this has been one of the most important things that has transformed my life, that the ceiling for who we can be and what we can do is not right here. It's not right here. We're not always bumping our heads against a ceiling of limited thinking, limited beliefs that inform us. Somewhere along the line, we created these beliefs for ourselves that are also life sentences. Telling ourselves that I'm not good enough. I can only do this. I'm not smart enough. I want you to know that I cannot implore you to get rid of that idea as soon as possible. The truth is the ceiling for who you can be and what you can do either doesn't exist or it's 1,000 miles above your head. Cast your vision, live today from that vision. Let your decisions and choices today be informed from the future, the unprecedented future that you design for yourself. If it's to be a business owner or have 10 businesses, map it out, get the vision clear, and begin making choices today from that vision. And everything builds upon everything. In the first 3 months or so, things may be a little cloudy. Continue to press forward, fail forward. There is no going back for us. We only move forward.
Thank you so much, Richard. I really appreciate you being on the Prison Professors program, and I look forward to becoming an associate of your program. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And it's awesome to have you as a prison professor now from being somebody that was going through this program on the inside.
Michael, if I could share 30 more seconds.
Yeah, please do.
I read your book. When I saw your podcast, I ordered your books. I read Earning Your Freedom. I can show you it. It's in my garage right now. This is the first day that I've talked to you since being out in 3 years. I want to say I dreamed, but yeah, I dreamed of meeting you one day. I let your books be a mentor to me, just like you let those books that you read be a mentor to you. I read Earning Your Freedom. I have almost every page highlighted in something. And I'm so grateful for men like yourself and other women and men that do this, that pour who they are and what they've learned into a book, into a program, into a podcast like yours, and give back. And I want you to know, there may be times when, as you know, there's doubts. Am I really making an impact? I was reading that in my prison cell, hoping and dreaming to come out. I was inspired by you. Our team was inspired by you. We read your books. We watched your shows. And all we told ourselves was, we can do that one day. So thank you, Michael. And
you can do so much more, and you already are doing so much more. So thanks so much for being an inspiration to me. We are with Prison Professors, and we hope that someday we'll be profiling you on the outside. Thanks so much.